listening to the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast, a podcast in sisterhood for female entrepreneurs that serves up savvy, actionable marketing advice and interviews with creative business owners who are in the trenches, building their businesses as we speak. The Marketing in Yoga Pants community is for you, the girl on her couch, in her yoga pants, top knot tight, hunched over her MacBook, trying her hardest to get the word out about her business. So in the name of supporting each other while supporting ourselves, bringing community, sound marketing advice, coffee, chocolate, and wine together for you, yoga pants wearing business owner, in a world where followers mean nothing, but paying customers mean the world, join us on this week's podcast episode and in our private Facebook group where you'll meet your soul sisters and build your business in yoga pants. Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. I'm Brit and I'm here today with Kristen and Rachel, co-founders of Clarity on Fire. Thank you so much for joining me today, ladies.
You're welcome.
So pumped to have you
We
here.
can introduce ourselves quickly.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
Kristen,
Yeah, and I'm Rachel.
just so you know who's who.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I forget to do that all the time.
Yes.
I guess I already knew all that, but yeah, for
Yes.
listeners. And of course, so I think this is our first interview with two people on. So it might get a tiny bit confusing, but we'll just go with it. It'll be fine. So anyway, so I've been following Kristen and Rachel for quite a while and their business. And then a few weeks ago, one of our favorite people, Joanna Platt, she was on season 1 of the podcast. She will also be appearing in season 2. That's coming up in a couple weeks. Jo and I are great friends, and she emailed me one day and was like, hey, I was talking to my friends, Kristen and Rachel, and I think that they'd be really great for your podcast. And I was like, wait a sec. As soon as I saw Kristen and Rachel, I'm like, wait, are you talking about the girls from Clarity on Fire? And because I've been following them for so long. And she's like, yeah, like we knew each other from being coaches together. And so you guys will be able to tell the story better than I do. But I was like, yes, we definitely have to have these girls on the podcast. So here they are. So pumped to get some insight into your business, your industry, maybe a little bit of strategy behind that, and what makes it all tick. So you guys ready to jump in?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's do this. So first of all, tell me how you two earn your living.
Okay. We are coaches for people who, and sometimes I say people, sometimes I say millennials. The closer we get to 30, which is very close for her, the more we sort of actually are shying away from millennials, not because we don't love working with people in our demographic, we do, but just because it's becoming so obvious that like more and more and more and more and more people are attracted to what we do. So it's really just anyone who the following is applicable to. People who know what they don't want in work and in life, but have no idea what they would rather be doing. And so we help them figure out the intersection between their career and their passion in whatever way that might look for them. And for everyone, it's kind of different.
And the way we do that is we have a couple of virtual programs. We have one completely do-it-yourself program, kind of like our intro steps.
It's our evergreen offering.
And then we have one that we run twice a year. So it's like a month-long group program that we do virtually, and you can only sign up twice a year. And then, of course, we have one-on-one coaching, which is all over the phone, and we just work with individual people and kind of take them through a similar process, one-on-one.
Awesome. That sounds super intriguing. Obviously, because I've been following you guys for so long, I've always been interested in this. But I can just imagine how intriguing that is for our listeners as well, no matter where they're at. Because I think sometimes even when we find out what we want, there will be seasons where we just go back to that feeling of, wait, what do I want again? Like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
So very cool. All right. So take me back. Tell me the story of how you both came to do this with your life and how you came together to co-found this business.
Okay, I'll start with the beginning, and then at some point I'll let you finish it, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
We met 10 years ago in college. So we were roommates for 3 years in college with a couple of other girls. And so we were friends long before we had any idea what we wanted to do with our lives. And I think that that was kind of pivotal because together we had to figure out what we wanted to do with our lives. And then together we had to turn around and help other people do the same. So we've always had a shared interest and sort of purpose when it comes to self-awareness and consciousness. Like we just really like helping people to get to know themselves better and to kind of raise the consciousness of the world. So that hasn't always shown up as coaching though. Like we decided when we were like 20 or 21 that we were going to write a relationship self-help book. Hilarious to think that a 20-year-old knows enough to write a self-help book. But, you know, it was going to be for like college girls struggling in relationships. Obviously, the material was from experience on both of our behalves. And so, you know, then it was like, let's look into advice columns and writing online for women's magazines. And then let's look at therapy. And we always were like interested in the same thing. So eventually it evolved into coaching when we were in our like early mid 20s. So you can maybe take it over from there if you want to.
And so the way we figured out what we then wanted to coach people around was that after college, we both, you know, went back home for a couple of years, had a couple of pretty terrible jobs or just jobs that felt terrible to us, and had these panic attacks like, oh my God, is this what life is going to be? I'm just going to keep showing up in this like beige office with fluorescent lighting, doing something I don't care about for like decades and decades. And it sent us both into existential crises. No, this cannot be all there is. And so through our figuring out like what life was supposed to be like for us, like what a quality freedom-filled life felt like to us, we were like, that's what we want to help other people figure out, because we can't be the only ones having these existential crises.
And there's no clear shortage of people who are feeling that way. And I got really inspired and energized by, you know, getting clear myself. And so it just meshed well with the lifelong interest in sort of like human psychology and understanding how people tick and wanting to help people become more aware of themselves and like what's going on in their lives. So that's sort of how it evolved. I hope that even answered your question.
It totally answered the question. So when you guys decided that, you kind of went in a parallel through your early 20s and you realized that, hey, this might be something that we're individually going to do. What steps did you take to feel like, okay, I'm qualified to do this thing that I think I can do? And how did you come together to decide? Did that happen first? Did you guys come together and decide you were going to do it together? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because we always wanted to do something together. Like when we were 20, we were writing a book, you know?
Right.
And then we were going to sort of therapy practice together. And then we were going to do all these different things, but they were always going to be together. That part wasn't.
I don't think either of us was interested or capable of doing something individually. Not because we were not smart enough or like actually capable enough, but because I don't think I could have had the motivation to do it on my own. And it's more fun to do it with a friend. And also we were always on the same page about what we wanted out of life and what we were interested in. So it just kind of made sense. So
it would have been redundant for us to create two separate businesses.
No, it would
have such the same vision and interests and passions and all of that.
It would have been carbon copies of the other. So we did have different experiences. I mean, I went to therapy and she actually got a coach around the same time. I had a bad experience in therapy, not because therapy in and of itself is a bad thing. It's a great thing. I had a bad therapist. And that taught me a lot about the, you know, difference between therapy and coaching. And then she got a coach, which was also really illuminating. So it kind of solidified it solidified the idea that we needed to go to coach training. And we actually were like applying for therapy programs. And at that time kind of veered right and went and got certified in coach. And we got like a year-long sort of intensive coach training. So,
and we went through the training together, and we were kind of simultaneously building our business while getting trained.
And that's where we met Joanna.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So tell me how you were simultaneously building your business as you were getting certified. What did that look like?
We weren't doing a very good job of it, mind you.
No, it's like throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what stuck. That was like 2 solid years of just, I don't know, let's like put an ad on Craigslist. How did we find that girl? Do you remember that girl, Susan?
Yes.
We had like an intern because we didn't have any money. We didn't have any clients, but we needed to build a website.
Yeah, I remember exactly how we did this.
Oh,
I was doing it at my old job. I was spending my downtime at my office, emailing professors at local colleges who were professors of like web design, web development, and said, would you send this intern description out to your class members?
That's a good idea. Whose idea was that?
I don't remember.
Both of us would take credit for it if asked if we were alone.
Totally.
But like,
I don't really remember.
Like, I'm like, that was definitely my idea because it was such a good idea, but it's probably not. But anyway, that was a really good idea.
Yeah. So that was actually a really good strategy because we got a website made for us. We didn't know what we were doing.
She was like a junior in college, so she was totally capable.
Yes.
So she built a site for us and did some like basic graphics. Like she wasn't like, super, super talented yet, but like she could do the bare minimum. So we built a site, even though we had no idea what we really wanted to do beyond just like working with millennials. So our niche was like life and career and relationships. I mean, there was no specialty or no idea of where it was going to go from there. But we kind of figured like, why not at least have a presence and try to start blogging or build some sort of visibility while we're learning how to do this. And then it lasted 2 years before we actually learned how to really do it.
Okay, we have to pull out the fact that, I see this all the time, you get a little fire in you to do something. And then I think a form of procrastination, and what I think will speak so well to the upcoming conversation I have with Joe, there's this hesitation to do anything other than get certified. And it's almost like a form of procrastination. Like, I still don't know if this is going to work. And so I'm not going to do any of the business building work as I'm getting certified. And I think that often holds people way back from pushing their business forward and getting it. You kind of have to cut your teeth on making mistakes first. So you might as well do that while you're getting certified and then hit the ground running.
It's funny because I could actually like argue myself on this. Like I could have a dual argument about this because on the one hand, I completely agree with you that there is a point at which you cannot be educated intellectually anymore and you must go out into the real world and try things.
Yes.
And I tell people this all the time who are sitting in coach training and they're like, but what is my niche going to be? I give them like almost contradictory advice. I say, you're not in coach training to think about business. You need to learn how to be good at what you do, because if you are not good at what you do, no one's going to pay you anything, even if you do know how to market really well. Yes. So first, focus on becoming actually good at your trade. And then the sort of contrary, but I think complementary advice, because I think humans are capable of holding two opposing beliefs in their mind at the same time, is that then at a point, you are no longer going to be able to think about it, and you're just going to have to start coaching people or start doing something before you're ready, because the process of doing it is what's going to inform your next steps. Like we couldn't have thought our way into what we do now because it was in coaching like tens of, hundreds of sessions before we started seeing patterns, before we started realizing what we liked and what we didn't like, and seeing things that really helped us in, write our message and really tailor it to the right people and all of that. You can't think your way into that. So
what I think we did really well was we just jumped right into coaching, right? We said, we
didn't wait until we were ready.
We started coaching people. We did just pro bono sessions all over the place. What I don't think we needed to do so heavily was focus so much on like, this is the business. You know what I mean? Because you're right. The business grew out of coaching people.
Yeah.
So we dove a little, instead of like not dipping our toe in the water out of fear, I think we were really impatient and took it to the other extreme, which is we tried to do all the things at once instead of focusing on just get really, really good at what you do it as much as you can and learn as much as you can from it. And then a business will absolutely build itself.
Yeah. So you can have sort of like a basic presence and like allow it to evolve, and don't get so frustrated when it evolves, because I think that's a hallmark of any business, especially if you're in the first like 2 to 3 years, is that like every year we had a different website, like, and we wasted so much money on that, either paying people, or then we just sort of wised up and Kristen learned how to do it herself and I made images, and like, because I was tired of throwing money, because we would change our minds so often, and that's normal at the beginning. Anyway, we've gone like down like a rabbit hole here. So I'm going to pause and like, let you take this train over before it goes off the rails.
No, I'm letting it go because it's so right on track, really. It's not off track at all. It's exactly what happens in the beginning. And, you know, this podcast and movement is all about meeting that girl on her couch in her yoga pants hunched over her MacBook.
I have my yoga pants.
Wearing yoga pants currently. Yep.
Very nice.
That was hard for my leg to do. I'm not that flexible.
For anybody that's not watching the YouTube video, she just like fanned her leg across the screen. That was great. But no matter where the listener is, it's so good, whether she's at the beginning or middle, just to hear back through what it's like. It's scrappy, it's messy, it's nasty sometimes, but that's what you have to do sometimes. That's often that's how it works. So take me back to your very first client. You said you did a bunch of pro bono clients, but tell me, how did you earn your first dollar?
That's a good one. So we actually earned them at the same time, but through different methods.
Well, I would actually say it was the same method, different sources.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I love you guys. I can see why this business is working so well.
We like finish each other's sentences.
I know.
Oh,
we
yeah.
have a very married dynamic, you couldn't tell.
So in that same vein, we literally got our first clients on the same day.
That was a coincidence. It was not, like, it wasn't planned that way. Anyway.
No, it just worked out that way.
Yeah.
So what I did to get my first client was so as part of our coach training certification, we had to put out, we had to offer 10 free sessions to just random people.
To anybody.
And so I had been writing for this online women's career site for a couple of years already. So I was like, I'm just going to post in one of their forum areas and let people know they're my target audience. These are the exact kind of people I want to coach. I'm just going to let them know, hey, I've got to do 10 free sessions. Who wants a free session? And I mean, I got inundated with people, as you can imagine. We're like, yes, I want a free coaching session.
Yeah, of course.
And one of them turned into my first client. I'm sure I had multiple sessions that went nowhere, multiple free sessions that I just bombed, that, you know, I was not very good at the whole conversion process at that point. But one of them, she practically was, you know, like, how can I give you money? So
not only that, you just talked to her 2 days ago.
Yes.
Like, you're still friends. You're still in touch.
A great friend.
Like, you were actually a really, weirdly, and I can say the same about my first client, like, they thought we were amazing. And I was like, are you kidding? I don't know what I'm doing. So, like, it kind of goes to show that, like, if you know just a little bit more than somebody, you're an expert in their eyes. Anyway, that's a tangent.
Yeah.
So I did the same thing because so one of the things that I was pretty wise to, like, before we became coaches was that, like, well, okay, we wanted to write a book. So I knew, like, you have to have a presence. You have to have some sort of a following in order to get published. And I knew that even in 2009 or 2010. I majored in public relations, so I was, like, a little bit wise to this type of stuff. And so I was like, okay, so we need to somehow build a following and build a readership. So we're good writers. We should try to get published as, you know, relationship columnists or advice columnists or writers on, like, sites where our ideal sort of reader would be. So I found some places for her to write, and I found some places for me to write. And so she posted in a forum associated with that site. And then I was doing sort of guest advice column writing on this one site, and they had a forum as well. So I did the same thing. I posted and I kind of got in trouble for doing it, but I was like, it's free. I'm not selling anything. And anyway, whatever. It was ethical, just gray, I guess. I didn't know it wasn't ethical when I did it. Said every politician ever. So I did that, and I got like 9 or 10 requests like right away for a free session. And one of those people wanted to give me money, and I was floored. And she and I are like still friends, and we're still in touch, and we've like kept in touch over the years, and it's really cool. So
I remember sending that first invoice. It was so scary.
I know.
And I was like, sure she was not going to pay it. Like, sure she was going to back out and be like, there's no way I'm going to pay this much money. And I was just like holding my breath for 24 hours until I got the payment. And then I was shocked that it actually it worked.
Yeah.
So I think that, maybe it's not my job to draw conclusions about what that means. That might be your job as the host, but I'll let you also draw your own conclusions. But the way, what I get from that is that there is a lot of power in networking, either in person or online, and becoming known for something in an online space, even when you're really new to it.
Yes.
If you just can kind of consistently show up and then, offer something of value, even if it's free, you'll actually be surprised how many people are like listening and taking note. And this was like 5 years ago. So the internet is even more inundated than it was 5 years ago. But I still think there's way more people who need help than like there are people who are willing to give the help. There's always a surplus. So that's what I take from that, is that like building connections is still really important.
Exactly. And you know what? That's kind of been a running theme as of late on the podcast and in the private Facebook group of getting into specifically Facebook groups or, any kind of community and making a name for yourself, showing up to help others. Really, like you're just offering your help. Somebody has a question
you're not doing
about,
it for skeezy reasons.
Yep. Not at all.
Yeah,
not at all.
You're
just
being
getting
yourself.
in there and you're just being helpful. And that's what supporting others is. And yeah, you're right. Like you can do that so poorly, but if you're really going in and just trying to help others, you begin to create that reputation. But that's all well and good for maybe me to say, or someone else on the podcast maybe to say, because it seems like maybe they've got their stuff together, so they feel confident in going out and offering help. What Kristen and Rachel are saying here, listeners, is that it doesn't really matter what level you're at. You could be totally new.
No.
You still have something to say. You still have something to offer. Even if it's, like those free sessions, like, hey, I need the experience, and maybe you'll get something out of it too, and people will be, I think you'll probably be surprised at how that might work out for you.
And I think one of the themes of that, and that has carried on into our experience over the past 5 years, is that we were not really expecting anything from it.
Yeah.
I didn't think anyone was going to want to pay me. I was literally just trying to like check the boxes I needed to become a certified coach. I didn't really, it's hard to remember like what my thought process was back then, but I can't imagine that I had any other thought besides like, I'm just trying to get this done. And no one's going to want to hire me because they're seeing I'm not certified yet. I need to like I need to meet a quota. Literally, it was in the text of the body of the text was like, I haven't even coached 10 people, clearly, because I need to give away 10 sessions.
Right.
But yet someone still wanted to hire us, even though I hadn't even coached 10 people yet.
Right.
Like,
we had some coaching packages that we had created that we were offering.
No, we had to create coaching packages after that,
I remember
think.
practicing, okay, this is what it's going to be like to try to, quote unquote, sell someone on these packages. So like, here, you could do, I don't know, 12 weeks of coaching? That sounds fine. And she was like, okay, how much is it? And we were like, what? This much? And then we're like, okay, I'll pay that, right? So it was just, I wanted to practice being in a conversation where I coached someone I didn't know, and I practiced selling them on something that I didn't expect they were going to buy. Mm-hmm. And then they bought it.
Yeah. Remaining unattached to the outcome as much as possible is so important. And I could go on a riff about that, but I will I will leave it there.
That's really funny. You know what? And that's another thing that I can see the other side, because some people love to get super attached to that number or what they think they're going to get out of it. And then they make it happen because of that. But my personality is just like yours. It's no, I'm putting this out in the world because I know I'm supposed to, and we'll let it be. We'll let it be, and it'll work the way it's supposed to. That's my personal thing. And I understand other people don't exactly look at it that way, but I can't agree enough to how you framed that.
Yeah.
I feel like people can sense that, when you're going into it saying, I'm going to make a sale, I'm going to convert this one. Like, there's an energy to that doesn't feel like I'm just here to see where this conversation goes.
Also, be careful what you wish for. Because a lot of the time, if you're trying to, I have done that when I've been desperate for money, which has been many times because I am a business person. I have really, really wanted someone to sign up for coaching, and they did. And then I was like, crap, because they were kind of awful, right? Like, yeah. And so if you remain attached to the outcome, you're going to have to also deal with the fact that, sometimes the world or the universe or whatever knows better for you than you know for yourself. And to let the people go who are maybe not meant for you is a blessing in disguise a lot of the time. And that has been a really big thing for me to let go of, is like assuming that I know best about who should be my client and who shouldn't, especially if I really like someone and like nothing seems wrong with them and they just don't sign up. I just have to assume, okay, it was for a good reason, and that,
or they'll come back,
which does happen sometimes.
Yeah. I don't know what to say other than yes. Yes to all of it. Yes.
Great.
Okay, so that's how you guys got your first clients. Now, how long have you been coaching?
5 years. Okay, this is the answer I always give. 5 years unofficially, 4.5-ish years. I would say 5.5 years unofficially, 4.5 years if we're talking about for tax purposes. Like,
yeah.
Like there was a year of no LLC when we were just sort of like, doing it on the side. And we worked, let's see, you quit your job way too early. I quit my job early. I quit my job
4 years ago. You quit your job like 3.5
years ago.
So we've been quote unquote full-time that whole time, but really the first year after I quit my job, I was not working full-time because I had quit my job way too soon out of just sheer desperation to get out of a job that I hated and over exuberance for my business.
And also overconfidence in our abilities. Let's just put it that way. When they say it takes 2 or 3 years to build a stable business, at least 2 or 3 years to build like a stable, secure, consistent business. They aren't lying. And it's,
I remember
it's a bit of hubris to be like, we're smarter than that.
And that's exactly what we did though. Someone told us at one of our coach training programs, it's expected to take about 2 to 2.5, maybe 3 years to get to a consistent level of business. And we were like, I think we're pretty smart. I think we can figure this out faster than that.
It took exactly that long. That's how long it took. With all of the advantages that we had, which were a lot. We're smart people. We have like complementary strengths, and we had no responsibilities hardly. We're not married. We didn't have kids. We didn't have a lot of this sort of handicaps that a lot of people have when they're going into this game. And yet still 2 or 3 years. That's how long it took. Yep.
So do you regret leaving your job too soon?
Yes and no. It was such a draining place that I had so little energy left over that I don't know how much I really could have devoted to the business. So I don't regret quitting my job. I maybe regret not getting a part-time job. Like if I could go back and give myself advice,
like a bridge job.
I would say, why not just get something that takes 20, 25 hours a week, doesn't take a lot of brain power, pay some of your bills, and then gives you a lot of, I thought about it at the time, but I was way too stubborn.
And you were so burnt out from working that the thought of going back to that just felt like really hard to do.
Yeah. So I recognize that at the time, it didn't really feel like a real option, but looking back, I'm like, that would have been much easier all around.
Also, I just thought
I was I refuse.
To all of the like 55-year-olds who are listening to this, who just heard me say, I mean, you were like so burnt out from working and you were like 23. I apologize.
I worked for like 2.5 years, maybe.
Right? Like my career for 2.5 years was just the worst. I just couldn't hack it anymore. Right? Like I do like have more perspective now. But I mean, what can you say? Like when you're just existentially exhausted and you're so drained, quitting is sort of like you have like blinders on and you just do it and then you kind of have to live with the consequences. So, I mean, yeah. Would it have been easier if we planned better? Sure. Like, was it like a trial by fire initiation type of thing? Yes. So in that way, it was like, you kind of have to just like learn really quickly once you're thrown into the deep end. And that's not a bad thing either. Though I feel like I got adrenal fatigue from having done this because I was constantly in that like stress, that stressed out, like fight or flight mode for so long, because when you're in survival mode, you don't know where money's coming from. It just takes a toll on your like mental, emotional, physical health.
And if we had known that going into it, I think it would have been easier to justify getting a part-time job.
Yeah.
But we didn't know what we didn't know.
And we were like optimistic, probably to an unhealthy degree, but I actually think that was a cushion, because I think sometimes you need to be like have rose-colored glasses on in order to even do something at all. Yeah. Like you need to have like you need to have an unrealistic idea of how it's going to go so that you can at least jump. And if you had a real if you really knew how it was going to be and how long it was going to take and how much hard work it would be, you often would just say, nope, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So,
and then still be unhappy.
Yeah,
so like
exactly.
you went through at the old job or another crappy job. So everybody has their story and everybody looks at it a little differently. And the beauty of it is there's no right or wrong way.
Nope.
So long as you go into it and you say, I'm going to make it work, whatever comes, I'm going to make it work. And I think that's what, that may be the common thread I see.
That reminds me of
literally, she's about to say what I was just about to say. I can guarantee you that what you just said, we were having the exact same thought. Go ahead. I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
So I remember a moment. I actually remember like where I was. I was in the car talking to my mom, and my mom says some version of, okay, so what are you going to do?
What's your plan B, right?
Like this doesn't, if this doesn't work. And she was doing it very lovingly, wanted to support me. And I just told her, Mom, I'm going to keep doing this until it works.
Yeah.
So eventually it's going to have to work. Like I
don't
can't
have
do
a plan B.
Plan B. I don't have one. I couldn't do it. I can't stomach going back into the way I used to work. And so this is going to work because I'm just going to keep doing it until it works.
That was exactly what I was just going to say.
Stubborn and bullheaded. But you know what? I think you kind of have to have that to push through the hard times.
Yeah, I agree. Right.
I totally agree. This is so good. Okay, so now tell me, how are you? Of course, your business has evolved tremendously in the last 4 to 5 years. How are you getting your clients now? What's working now?
Well, okay. So about 3 years ago, we created a quiz. So I'm gonna have to walk it back and explain it a little bit, but this came from slightly thin air. It was one of those like intuitive downloads that we couldn't repeat. Like it just sort of happened and it was like sort of a stroke of inspiration, and I won't change it because otherwise I don't think I would have a business anymore. It's kind of become the cornerstone of our philosophy too. So, one of the big mistakes we made when we were first coaching was we were reading everyone's dissatisfaction with their work situation wrong. So because we were so attracted to entrepreneurship, we sort of assumed that the reason that everyone hated their job was because people just would be better off if they were self-employed, which I'm sure you can relate to because obviously, like, here you are in the same boat as we are. We really value our freedom. And other people, it turns out, aren't like that. And there's nothing wrong with them for necessarily not being like that.
Right.
So what we started to notice was patterns of how people valued different things like their time and their money and their passion. And the various ways that those three things combined was different for certain people. So we sort of noticed, and one day I just sat down on the couch and I was thinking about this stuff, and I was And I just sort of drew a graph, and I started like sort of noticing the differences and the similarities between people. And I started labeling like what I would call each one of those types. And we knew we wanted to build a quiz as our opt-in because we really liked that idea, but we didn't know what it was going to be about. So that became the basis of our quiz, which is the passion profile quiz. So passion profile quiz basically helps you figure out the intersection between your career and your passion, not necessarily what you're meant to do, but how you're meant to do it. For example, I could be doing the exact same thing I do right now, but I could be doing it at a 9 to 5 where I have to commute, and I would hate it. It's not about what I do. It's about the fact that I really value owning my own time and being the sort of having a lot of autonomy and having a lot of freedom and flexibility. And I can handle a higher level of risk because of that. I don't want a limit on how much money I make. Don't want anyone to tell me when I can take vacation. So that puts me in one category. Other people, they might value stability and predictability a lot more, and they might really value connection. They like going to a 9 to 5 job. Other people might even not want their passion to be something that they get paid to do, which sounds weird to people, but there's a whole subset of people who are like, you know what? I just want to clock in and clock out at a job I like, and I want to do my passion completely on the side, because if I combine it with making money, it takes the intrinsic fun out of it.
Right.
So basically, our quiz helps you figure out which of those profiles, which of those types you are, so that you can then use that to chart your career direction in a really helpful way and narrow down your possibilities in a way that's going to make a lot of sense for how you're wired and what your deeper value system is. So that quiz took us from like 400 email subscribers in like August of 2014 to almost 20,000 now.
Wow.
So 3 years. Yeah.
Yes.
And thankfully we have a double opt-in because the quiz has been taken close to 300,000 times now.
Yeah, around that.
Yeah. So like, I mean, a lot of people have taken it and forwarded it to their grandma. You know what I mean? Like, thankfully we've tried to keep those people off of our list, but we just tapped into something that people were really missing. There was like a whole piece of the passion conversation that was not being had. Like everyone is so focused on what's your passion, what's your passion, what's your passion. And no one's talking about the fact that like, maybe it's not your job that's the problem. Maybe you keep job hopping over and over and over again, thinking I just can't find what it is I want to do. And what's really going on is that like, you're just like, you're not meant to be in the system that you're currently in. And it's the how is broken, not the what.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also want to point out, just because you asked, like, how do people find us? We could have just put up a quiz and no one would have found it, right? So we could put up a quiz, so that captured people and had them share it,
and there's
right?
A lot
and
more
made
organic growth
a lot
way.
more searchable because of that. But how people were finding us before we got the quiz and even after the quiz was we're writers, right? She was a communications major. I was a English major. You know, we've been readers and writers our whole lives, and we're also introverts, right? So we're not going to be the ones going out into all the networking events. I tried that, totally burnt me out. And handing out business cards. That's not how we meet people. Now, I think it's a great way if you're built that way, but that did not work for us. We did really all of our marketing in the online space by writing. So not only do we write for our blog, we have probably 4 or more years of blog content on our site. So a ton of searchable content. A lot of it is about figuring out your passion, right? So we accidentally now rank really, really high for finding your passion.
Yeah, like in the top 3 usually.
Yeah. Wow. We didn't really seek that out, but when you write for that long,
I didn't even know what happened. My brother told me.
Yes, that's right.
I was like, I just Googled how to find my passion, and you're on like the front page, and I was like, I didn't know that.
So that proves like consistency and like time spent talking about the same thing. You know, it builds up. But we also, like I was saying before with my first client, we found places to write articles. So we wrote on our own site and got a lot of searchable traffic just from our own content, but we found other places and we consistently wrote there. And once we had a quiz, we sent them back to the quiz.
Yeah, we would link to the quiz at some point in the body of the article. And if we couldn't do that, in the bio below. And most of the time, the people who were editing it were fine with it being in there, as long as it was like relevant to the content. And so that helped send a lot of like higher quality traffic.
So I always tell people, because I have a lot of coaches newer coaches who come to me and ask, like, how do you actually get known? How do you like start to get the first people in your fan base or following? And I remember, I'm like thinking of what I would tell myself, right? I remember trying all the things, right? Trying to go to networking events, trying to do random presentations for small groups, trying to do online writing, trying to do everything. And once I just decided, this is my thing, right? Writing for my own site and writing for other people's sites. And I just did that consistently and really well. That's when we started to get real momentum. So I would tell people, pick something. If you love speaking, go speak as many places as possible and like have that be your thing.
And do it for free.
Do it for free, yes. And maybe offer something at the end, right? If you love networking, start a networking group or go to all the networking groups, right? If you love that, do it. If you love video, keep doing videos. But just pick something that you want to be sustainable and consistent with and just keep doing it.
And like where you kind of are in your strength. You know? I mean, I couldn't, like a networking group, oh my God. It would take so much out of me, and it's just not aligned with my desires or how I'm wired. And so it would just be an uphill battle. So, whatever you do, it doesn't matter. If you're doing it in a way that you're aligned, and so people are sort of picking up on your strengths, it's going to feel good to them to be a part of that and to watch that or to read that or to listen to that. And as long as you do that really regularly, I think that's how momentum gets built. Momentum does not get built in fits and starts. You have to like commit to something. You have to do it for a long time in order to like build any kind of momentum.
Right. I love it. Awesome. So you're, let's take it back to, we said this in the beginning, but because we're talking so much about coaching, you're not just selling one-on-one coaching anymore, right?
No.
You've expanded to a much more scalable level of your business, right? So outline your different ways that you make money in your business again, just so we can remember that this is not just one-on-one coaching again.
So other than one-on-one coaching, there's only 2 offerings that are paid. The only other free thing we have some like content upgrades in our quiz, but the only other paid things we have are 2 courses. And one is just like an evergreen course, and it's specifically about the passion profile system. So it's kind of like if you take the ideal kind of customer for that would be someone who takes the quiz and really resonates with their result and wants to learn more about it in a short period of time and wants to use what they've learned to, and apply it to their career search. Right. So that's like a 5-ish hour, all pre-recorded. The only involvement we have is in a forum where people can ask questions. So that's the only live involvement we have. So that's like a $200 course, and you can buy it at any time. And then, so that like, every month we get like, a nice steady clip of people buying that. And that's like a nice chunk of our monthly income. Not a majority. I want it to be like one day. That's my goal. Cause I love residual income. That's like my favorite way of making money. It's while I sleep. But and then what I love about that is it allows us to then have fewer clients, it allows us to have like a more quality approach to one-on-one coaching, which is great because both of us can only handle about 10 clients a week before we get like really maxed out.
Right.
So then, and then we have another course that kind of, it's sort of like it builds off of that. You don't have to have done the first one, but it's sort of a next level. It's longer. It's about 4 weeks. It's run twice a year, and there is a lot more live involvement from us. We do like a live hangout like this once a week. We unlock like a new module every week. There's 4 of them. And it kind of, whereas the first course is about like the how to combine your career and passion to sort of chart your career direction. The next step is focusing more on the what. Like once I understand how I'm meant to combine it, then I need to figure out what my passion actually is. So it's kind of going from general to more specific and individual. So that course takes longer because there's a lot more facets of figuring out what you're passionate about. And so we kind of have a launch it's not really every 6 months. We don't break it up that evenly. It's more like in like January, February, and then not again until like September.
Okay.
We used to do it 3 times a year, but
That was too much.
it was too much it wouldn't be too much for people who like were extroverted and like really high energy, but that's not us. Like we're more of like slow and steady.
Mhm.
So we decided to actually
Because
cut
we
it
were
down.
constantly launching.
Yeah.
We're doing it 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Right.
This gives us a much bigger break
Yeah.
in between.
That's awesome. Intentional decisions. I like that.
Mhm.
You know what else I like about this setup is that it's really simple.
Yes.
Like
That's one of our biggest values, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As a business.
that comes out for sure. It's not your coaching and then your quiz and then your and then 4 different evergreen small little random courses and then even more than 2 that like I love how
Wouldn't that be
simple
hard
it is.
to sell? I'm just sitting
Impossible.
here going,
Yeah, I
yes.
know.
I'm just like, isn't it hard for people to like pay attention if you're inundating them with too much stuff?
And
like,
it's hard for them to know what they want.
for God's
right?
sake, people hardly know the difference between our 2 courses right now. We only have 2, you know? Like, but people ask all the time, I don't get it. What's the difference? And I'm like, if you just went on our site and read for like 5 minutes, I wouldn't have answered this question for you. So it's like people's attention is so like hard to get anyway. Like, why would you try to sell them on like this and this and this and this and this? Like, that's exhausting.
And I don't want to have to deal with the logistics of like a dozen offerings. That would drive me completely bonkers.
You would never get a break because you would always be like in high function mode around one of those things.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
I like it.
And we need
like
lots
it.
of breaks.
Yes, me too.
Yes, we like breaks.
Yes. All right. Okay. Let's move on. Let's talk about what you are working on right now. Where's your focus at, and what's coming down the pike for you?
So right now, we're not in the process of any new courses or anything. As you just said, like we kind of have our offerings pretty set and they work really well. It doesn't mean we won't come up with some new ways of approaching them or updating them from time to time. But in terms of offerings, we're pretty set. But we do we did some version of this last summer. We're doing another version of this summer. We like to do something where we offer kind of a free upgrade of some kind or a free collection of content each summer, just like a little kind of summer celebration. And so what we're doing right now, because we have so much blog content,
like so much,
years and years worth of blog content, and a lot of it is pretty good, if I do say so myself, but it gets really lost in the mix. You know, if it's 2.5 years ago, no one's finding that.
If you just found us, you're missing out on like so much old content that we've written.
Yeah, so what we're doing for this summer is we are collecting some of our blog posts that are in different subjects, right? So maybe 4, 5, 6 blog posts. That
7.
Really, some of them are 7.
Nope, they're almost all 6 or 7 blog posts. We always start out saying it's going to be like 4, and then we are very bad at keeping things short. So
yeah, conciseness is not our strong suit.
No.
Well, because you've kept your business simple, you can go deep into things.
That's true. That's a very good observation. We are depth, not breadth. Kind of people.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah. Yeah,
for sure. So we have come up with 4 for now. We'll probably do more.
We'll do another series, like a series 2, a volume 2.
Yeah, but we've come up with 4 topics, and we're going to create ebooks for each topic. So again, collection of maybe 6 to 7 blog posts
I can
under
tell you what
4
they all
different topics, and we're going to offer them just for free.
Yeah,
later this summer.
So I mean, our designers already done most of them, and they're like 25 or 30 pages each. So I mean, it is like a mini. It's like a book. I mean, a little like a mini ebook.
Yeah.
But one is about finding your passion, like so the things that are either were most popular with readers or the lessons we really want people to know that they might not have gotten to read because they're newer to our list. Mm-hmm. So finding your passion, learning how to be happy, tough love for getting through difficult times, as well as what to do when you're going through an existential crisis. Those are the 4 ones. Those aren't the titles, but those are like the themes of each one. And we're going to be releasing them like 4 consecutive weeks in August.
That's really exciting. I know I'm not going to miss it. That's awesome.
No, you won't miss it. Yeah.
That's really fun. Okay, let's do some quick, easy questions.
Sure.
Most of them have nothing to do with business.
We probably won't give you quick, easy answers.
We'll try.
I'm sorry.
No, don't even worry about it. I feel like Joe and I really hit it off so quickly when she and I started working together. And I already see why you guys are friends and why I'm friends with Joe. And now I'm like, I really like you guys. Like, I feel like we could have a really killer like wine hour, cocktail hour. I'm like, oh yeah, that could get really good. Okay. Easy question. Favorite place you've ever traveled to?
Well, we have to do this individually.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of 2.
Okay, Rome.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to Rome. You haven't, so.
No, I'm thinking, I loved traveling to Monaco, but I wasn't there for very long. But honestly, one of my very favorite places is New Orleans.
That's true.
I love New Orleans.
I'm thinking
French
about
Quarter.
going,
So good.
I'm thinking about going to a conference there in the fall.
You should find any excuse to go.
That's a really good time to go. Really good time to go because it's not too hot.
Yeah.
And it's still pretty hot, but it's not like summertime in New Orleans. That's rough.
That's pretty, I mean, like, you talk humidity.
Constant humidity.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So New Orleans is amazing. It's like no other town in the United States. So cool.
I might just need to do that. All right. What is your favorite way to learn? Do you like to read? Do you like to listen? Get your hands dirty? What is that? What's the best way?
All of the ways.
Huge book nerds over here. I mean, if you can't see all the books just behind us, that's not even a fraction.
She can't really.
But yeah, we're both huge book nerds. And lately podcasts are
excuse me, I got you into
You did get me into podcasts.
Excuse me, I've gotten you into everything. Like other than some books, no, but like I'm the type who introduces people to stuff.
Yeah, she's really good at that.
So shows and movies and books and podcasts, like everything on her podcast roll is something I've been like, you need to put that on your list.
Connector.
So, yeah. I mean, like when it comes to content, I'm a big kind of like, I get really into good quality content.
I wouldn't call you the social connector.
No, not a social connector, because I'm an introvert.
No.
Even though I know it doesn't seem like it, I like one-on-one though. I like small, intimate things like that. That's an introvert thing. But like if like it just, I have to like go recharge. It's not that I'm not social. It's just I then need to like take a nap usually after a big social expenditure.
We talked a lot about that in season 1. That was one of the easy questions, introvert or extrovert, because everybody kind of sees it a little differently. And a lot of times I hear introverts make better business owners, but I mean, that's not the case.
No.
I hear it all the time and I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. So we had great conversations around that, but I'm an introvert too. And when you were saying like, choose what you are good at, if networking is your thing, cool. If you want to go speak, cool. Last fall, I was a speaker at a local blog conference, and I sat there literally all day and spoke to no one until I got up on stage and did the speaking thing. So like literally I was way more nervous to just sit in the crowd than to be on stage. I was having anxiety all day long just from being surrounded by these people I didn't know.
I totally get you on that one. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't understand people who like because like we have a friend who I'm thinking of who would just go into that room and would like naturally like become best friends with 20 people.
She'd walk away with like 100 business cards and 20 best friends and 3 appointments for the next 48 hours.
Even if I was trying, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Like I just find it really hard. So
we all have our strengths and our weaknesses.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was your favorite way to learn?
You already answered. You're about to answer again.
Books.
Books.
Podcasts.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was my bad. I totally forgot. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. No, you were about to answer a second time.
We got off tangent with the introvert extrovert thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
It was a good tangent.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we have very similar like learning styles, and we've both been huge book nerds our entire. Like our first love was reading, and my last love will be reading.
Yeah.
Like I can't read digitally. I'm sorry. There's just something about paper that
I agree.
I love it. And I think it's just because I spent so much time reading like paper books when I was little, and I just have an affinity for it.
It's
and
nostalgic.
Yeah.
It
and
is.
So
yeah. And the smell.
yeah,
Smells so
and just
good.
like the
Yeah.
sound of it and the texture, there's a whole experience that goes with it. So I
Yep.
don't want to give that up.
I agree. I have I have a Kindle and the whole thing, and I read on it, but I also just ordered 5 books off Amazon yesterday, like
Right.
actual books, and I cannot wait for them to get to my house. I don't have any time to read them, but I just can't wait to have more books in my house.
I know that feeling intimately.
Yeah, I have to have like a book budget.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Because I'm not happy unless I'm reading a book. Like if I don't have a book that I'm reading, it's really weird and I feel sort of unanchored. You know?
Yeah.
Like I feel
totally
like I'm
understand
missing
that.
something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so tell me, it kind of seems like you guys are similar in personality, but oftentimes co-founders come at things maybe from opposite ends. So would you say that you're not that way? Like you're not opposites. You do come at things more similarly, and that's why it works. What are the differences that exist?
Okay, I would say that we have different personalities, very similar ways of approaching things though. So
similar vision and values.
Yes. Well, we're the same. Okay, so we're the same Myers-Briggs type. So INFJ.
Me too. That's why we're friends.
I could have.
Everything's becoming clear.
I could have picked that. So that I don't mean like we're that personality-wise we're the same. I mean more like I don't know. I'm the kind of person who I'm loud, kind of opinionated. I put my foot in my mouth very often, like regularly.
She does.
Kristen is way more. So I think what's interesting is we've often had like opposite experiences where I've had to sort of like learn to do less, not in a suppress yourself kind of way, but in a like rein it in, don't say everything that you think kind of way. And she's had to learn to like speak up.
Yeah, so I'm naturally a little, I mean, I wouldn't call myself quiet, but quieter.
You have been called quiet.
I have been called quiet.
And I have been called loud.
And like just a little bit more of a,
she's more adaptable. I'm way more rigid. Like, I like my things the way I like them, and having to give up my ground is difficult for me. She's like way more flexible. And that's often, a good thing. Otherwise, we wouldn't work together very well.
That's true. I often also am looking for like the best in things and don't always discern like what's really there. Yeah. So you can come at things from a little bit more of a judgmental perspective. I can come at things a little bit too open-minded sometimes.
Yeah.
And so we've had to learn separate lessons in that regard.
Yes.
Separate but complementary.
I like that in our personal sneak peek. Okay, cool. What would you guys love to outsource in your business right now?
I know what you're going to say.
Do I? I don't know what I'm going to say.
You're not going to say social media?
Oh, yeah. Well, I actually just want to quit social media. Well, that's a totally different, that's like a different soapbox entirely. But it's not that I want to outsource it so much as I just don't want to do it anymore.
Well, I wish I could outsource it, but I also think it's important if you're going to do it to have your own voice and to have your own tone.
So it's not something I would outsource.
So in an ideal world, it'd be great to never have to do it, but still have it. You know, like not have to do Instagram, but have Instagram. But then it would be very impersonal if it wasn't us at the helm. So yeah, that's what I wish I could outsource, but I don't actually think.
That's what you wish you could outsource?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would have thought that you would have wanted to outsource like the technical stuff that you don't like doing.
I would love to outsource that too.
That's really weird that like you didn't come up with the answer for yourself and you came up with the answer for me and vice versa.
Well, in some ways I do. We have a developer that I can go to for really technical stuff, but I wish I could outsource all technical things.
I can't tell you how many times you've been like, I don't want to do WordPress anymore, and I don't want to have to figure out how to connect Entreport to this plugin,
funnels,
that kind of thing.
Connecting funnels,
Yes.
Yep.
That tends to be my turf, just because like my brain can work well that way.
And you taught yourself how to do it, and so
I know. I wish I hadn't.
If she gets hit by a bus, I'm screwed. Like I have no idea.
I'm not sure you know the login information for Entreport.
No, I know how to get into WordPress. Because I can approve comments, and that's all I know how to do. I can update like little things here and there. But yeah, no, like I would not. I don't know how to send an email from our like to our list. I can't do that anymore. So yeah, that would be cool to outsource.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, interesting. I just like to see what's kind of that next thing to Okay.
Yeah.
Say
Not that
say
we
that.
ever will. I don't know if we ever will. And the reason I say that is because not that I don't love outsourcing. I do. Like, we have a graphic designer, we have a web developer, we have an accountant. Like, I mean, well, we have a CPA. Like, she does our taxes. I wish someone would do our bookkeeping. That I might outsource.
There you go.
There you go.
But the reason I don't actually want to outsource too many things is because I like simple. So if it's gotten to the point where I have to outsource a ton of things, in my mind, that means I've overcomplicated stuff.
I like it. Yeah.
You know, so it's almost like, you know, if you have a million facets of your business and you like that and you want to have a big team and you want to manage a lot of people, great. I don't want to, my time is so valuable to me. I don't want to spend a lot of time managing people and checking in with them.
Right.
We
Like-
used to think we wanted the traditional entrepreneur, you know, empire, like online empire with a whole big team and, you know, reaching like millions of people. And honestly, that
That's a
sounds
lot of work.
exhausting to me
Yeah.
now. I like small and simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think we're pretty good at that.
I love it. I like that intentional decision. That's very cool. I appreciate it. Okay, I want you guys to look back and I want to know what advice you would give to yourself when you were first starting your business, to that girl on her couch, hunched over her MacBook, just trying to figure this thing out. What would you say to her?
Man, okay. The first thing I would say to her is get a part-time job if you quit your job.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Bridge jobs save.
Bridge jobs are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't discount them.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's coming to mind for me is like, stop looking for proof that it's going to work. There is no proof that it's going to work. You have no idea if it's going to work. I was obsessed with proof. I just wanted some sort of indication that I was on the right track. And so it was kind of like nothing I ever did was good enough for a while, because I was like, well, I could always talk myself down. Like, okay, so we got 10 email subscribers today. Well, that's okay. And then the next day it would be like, well, we need 15. And nothing was ever allowed to be successful. And I kept looking for more and more and more proof that we were on the right track. And I was doing it because I felt totally out of control. And I was just looking for any kind of like comfort. And that's just not going to happen. You kind of just have to continue to do it with like no proof that it's going to work out. And and trust that if you continue to be really consistent, that eventually it will pay off. And that's a really easy thing to say, I know, and it's a really hard thing to do. But oh my God, I ate so much time and energy, and wasted so much of it and like killed myself worrying about whether or not it was going to work, instead of just like letting it go.
Yeah.
No, that leads me into the other point that I wanted to make, which is don't assume that just because something hasn't worked yet, it's not going to work.
Yes.
We had so many failures and flops at the beginning that we could have just said, clearly this business is not working. Clearly we're doing something entirely wrong. Let's just scrap it. But instead we figured, okay, well, if this didn't work, let's change it and try something else. And it was a frustrating process, of course, but that goes back to that mentality of, I'm going to keep doing it until it works. Right? So if you can really adopt that and say, even if it means I have to evolve and change and try new things, and even if it takes a lot longer than I want it to take, if I just keep doing it until it works, eventually it's going to work.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's kind of lame, but like Thomas Edison created how many freaking light bulbs before one actually worked? I mean, I just think that a lot of us have this instant gratification problem, and like I was no different because I'm a millennial. And I think even the kids who are younger than us are having a much worse time with this because they don't even remember not having the internet. And obviously we lived like a good decade or more of our lives without that. And I think that we're not willing to to wait for it to work and have to try over and over and over again for it to work. That's a really hard thing, and it can be very demoralizing, but at the same time, like, what's your other option?
It's part of the creative process.
Yeah.
You can't skip over that part of the creative process.
It's also, it's like one of our friends kind of, and she's more of a mentor. She's like 2 decades older than us. And, she was saying what you're going through when we were sort of at the bottom of the barrel and we were just like really frustrated with things not working. And it had been like 2 years and we were still struggling. She was like, you're going through the callus building phase, you know, like if you're going to get stronger, you're going to have to build more muscle and you're going to have to toughen up. And that happens mentally and emotionally, and it can happen physically, obviously. And any sort of journey is going to do that to you. And to see that happening and to label it as wrong is a misstep. And it's like you're not seeing the big picture. And often to appreciate, even if you don't have to like it, but to acknowledge and sort of understand the callus building phase as necessary is really important.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. That I completely agree. So, all right, before we go, because I have totally taken your hour at this point, could you
That's
please,
fine.
could you please tell the listeners where they can find you online?
Yeah.
So you can find us at clarityonfire.com. And if you want to take the quiz, we have it listed
on the homepage. You'll see it
on our site. But that's the first thing people do when they go to our site. So if you check us out, take our quiz, see which of those 4 categories you fall into. And
now, I did say that I don't like social media, but you can follow us, which is not like a very good
we try to post sometimes.
No, we post. It's just I just want to live life. I don't necessarily want to be documenting it all the time. Mm-hmm. But we are, like, we post our blogs on Facebook, and we do post, pictures on Instagram, slowly but regularly. So on all social media, we're at Clarity on Fire.
Perfect. All right, you heard her, girls. Go check her out. Wait, I'm going to start that over again. Dave's going to take that out because I was saying her and it's they.
Them. Yeah.
Yep, them. Okay. Dave, my bad. Dave's my amazing podcast editor. He's
so great. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Dave. All right, awesome. You heard them, girls. Go check them out, send them some love, and hop into our private Facebook group to hear even more from them over the next few days. All right. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. Keep the conversation going by visiting marketinganyogapants.com/Facebook, where you'll get to join that private Facebook group I've been talking so much about. There, you'll get to chat with our podcast guests. Yeah, they're in there too, and all of the other brilliant creative business owners. We're connecting, we're meeting our soul sisters, and we're building our businesses, all while in yoga pants. So come hang out with us. Again, visit marketinganyogapants.com/Facebook to get in. And one more thing. If you dig this podcast, would you be awesome and share it with someone? This entire Marketing in Yoga Pants movement is nothing without its community. So please share. And if you're really feeling the love right now, jump into iTunes. You're probably already there if you're listening to this right now. And leave us a rating and review. The more of those we rack up, the more the podcast will be found by ladies like you, and the stronger this community becomes. This episode was edited and produced by the Podcast Engineers. They're pretty great, so go find them at podcastengineers.com. This episode was also brought to you by my online marketing agency, Jam Marketing Group, and you can find us at jammarketinggroup.co. That's all for now. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you back here next week on the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. Love ya. Bye.